All right, we're here at Kreinik. We've been digging around back in the factory, and I found some history. Doug, what is this?
This is a banner that my mom made for a show, and that year she made everything gingham, and I think my dad even had a gingham shirt that he wore, and my mom had a gingham apron, and so this says Kreinik Manufacturing, Parkersburg, West Virginia, and
this is what you hung at trade shows.
This is what they hung at trade shows. So this is antique stuff. This is really cool.
Really cool. And your dad write this, or?
Yeah, this is my dad. I can look at the handwriting here, and it was done by my dad.
Right.
He did printing like this.
That's so cool.
Really
so an original Kreinik banner.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, what year did the company start?
The company started my dad lost his job in '71, and the company started in April of '72. They were working on putting the company together, and so in April of '72 they finally settled on it, and the accountant said, "So what do you want to call this company?" And so my mom said, "How about Kreinik Manufacturing?" And so the guy said, "Well, are you manufacturing anything?" And he said, "Well, it'll come."
Yeah.
And so because they were manufacturing those the organizers,
right.
And then they went into hang-rolls, and they were selling. And when they started selling silk, they would use the hang-rolls. They would cut the silk in meter lengths, and the stores would buy 5 meters of each color, and they'd have these hanging hangers with a hanger-all in the stores, and then people could buy a strand at a time because silk was more expensive than cotton and wool. So that's how they started out with silk.
So they brought in silk, and then eventually.
And then a year later, they started with metallics. And metallics, my dad actually was walking around in the Museum of the Art Museum in New York, and Metropolitan Museum of Art, and he was walking around, and he saw some real metals that were being used on samplers, and he said, well, he had done some work. He used to work for the Department of Navy back in the early '50s, and at that time he was working with an artificial metal that was made with plastic, and he was looking at that to make the regalia for the military. But the military didn't like it, the Admiralty didn't like it because it didn't oxidize in seawater. It didn't turn green.
They liked that.
So they didn't like it because it didn't turn green. So they nixed it.
He remembered it. He
remembered it, and 30 years later he said, and so he started having people work on it and braid it, and so that's where it came from.
Very cool.